Good morning. Okay, we're ready for section 15.3 today. We're going to be doing area. We've done perimeter. Today we're going to do area, rectangles and squares. The space that a two-dimensional shape encloses. We'll start our explorations by focusing on rectangles and squares. Later we'll go to the other shapes. The biggest thing I want you to do is I want you to be able to tell the difference between perimeter and area. You may already know that and be going like, yeah, I know that, but maybe you don't, and that's okay, either way. Now, you know already how to find the area of certain shapes, but we're going to think through the process together. If you're wondering when you'll ever need to find the area of something, just suppose you need to recarpet your bedroom. Suppose you'd need to know the area of the room to paint, or you put the carpet down, or the tile, or whatever it was. I do area all the time because I'm all the time moving things and wanting things painted and all that kind of stuff. Now, before we look at how to find the area, we need a unit to measure it in. The distance units only measure distance in a single direction, whereas area is expressed in two-dimensional space. So we use what we call a square unit to measure area. A square inch is 1 inch by 1 inch. A square foot is one foot long by 1 foot wide. A square yard is 1 yard long by 1 yard wide. You get the idea. Square inch, square on all 1 inch on all sides. Square foot, 1 foot on all sides. 1 yard on all 4 sides. Okay, look at the next page. Now, that little tiny square inch there on the left side at the very top, that's a square inch. It's 1 inch on all 4 sides. That's why it's called a square inch. Okay? A square foot is 12 inches by 12 inches. You count all of those and you're going to have 144 of those because it's 12 by 12. That's 1 foot by 1 foot. Look at the square yard. You've got 1 yard square on all sides. Okay? Now, those are the things that we measure with when we measure area. We measure in squares. Okay? Take a look at the following picture. Notice how we broke up the space inside or area of the rectangle into square units. So look right in the center of your page on 306. See that little rectangle? There's 3 squares up and 6 squares across. That means that there are 18 square units in that rectangle. Okay? Now, let's say that each one of those squares is a square foot. We'll just say. So the 3 up, that means that's 3 1 foot by 1 foot squares. Obviously, it's not. We're just pretending. And then the 6 that go across, we're just going to say that each one of those is, 1 foot by 1 foot, all the way down across. That means that we would say that rectangle is 18 square feet. It represents 18 square feet. Does that make sense? Let's look at finding the area of a rectangle. Now that we have a way of expressing area, let's take a look at how to find it. Okay, let's say we had a rectangle with the length of 4 units and a height of 6 units. What would the area of or the space inside be? That would obviously be 24. Now, look at the top of 307. Find out for yourself by counting the squares. You would count 24. This rectangle has an area of 24 square units. If I were to tell you that each unit is 1 square foot, you would know then that that little square at the bottom of 306 would be 24 square feet. Obviously, it's not, we're just saying that. However, if each unit was 1 square inch, then it would be 24 square inches. Okay? Look at that great big rectangle on 307. What would be the area of a rectangle 20 feet long by 16 feet wide or high? Now, you can think of a way to find the square units without having to count them all. Notice how the length 20 tells the number of squares in each row going across. And then the width tells how many in each row going up. So if you just multiply the length by the width, you will have counted all the squares. The area of that rectangle then would be 320 square units because 20 times 16 equals 320. Notice how this is the same as using multiplication to quickly count any repeated rows. If we lined up chairs, so there were 4 to a row and there were 10 rows, you'd say you had 40 chairs. It's the same thing, same principle. Now to make things easier, let's get a formula. Look at the next page on 308. Area of a rectangle. Area, or A, equals L times W, length times width. There's 3 different ways you can write it. Doesn't matter. In other words, the area of a rectangle equals its length times its width. Now, it's important to note that sometimes the width of a rectangle is referred to as the height. It doesn't really matter just as long as you find what it measures. Now let's see finding the area of a square. Now since squares are just rectangles and parallelograms with all equal sides, we'll be able to find their area by multiplying the length times the width also. So the area of a square, 4 times 4, 16. But since the length and the width are always the same on a square, it'd be nice to show that all we really have to do is multiply one side by itself. So area is S times S. You would just multiply side by side. Now, look at the very bottom where it says application time. Find the area of a rectangle 10 feet long by 3 feet wide. Now we know that the area equals the length times the width. And there's your formula. So all we have to do then is plug in, they used my wording. Plug in the numbers and multiply. A equals the length is 10 feet times the width is 3 feet. Multiply it, you get 30 square feet. And also that was what I wanted to tell you too. When you get your answers, anytime you're doing area, your answer will always be square whatever. If it's square feet, square inches, square yards, square miles, whatever it is, always put SQ in front of it. Okay? Always show that, because when we do area, you can only measure area by using squares. Okay? All right, and then there was another example there for using the square, which is just S times S, side times side. All right, if you'll look at worksheet 15.3, this is a real short one too. There's only 2 problems on the back. I'm not going to walk through this one with you. It's really, really simple. Use those formulas, though, that are in your book, and start practicing by using formulas. Always write the formula first. When I was in school, if I failed to write the formula, it was wrong. My teacher would give it back to me. It was wrong. Even if I got it right. The formula must be written, and then the next step under that is where you plug in your numbers and actually do the equation. So make sure you get into the habit of writing those formulas first, okay? All right, if you need any help, let me know. Otherwise, that's all for today.